in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com. Check out the website. Check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on. Make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli, back behind Enemy Lines. We had a whole show planned, folks. We were going to talk about the health care passing the House. We were going to talk about Clapper and Yates before Congress. We were going to talk about what Director Comey said about the Flynn investigation. It was all news as we're recording this show of former FBI Director James Comey. Yes, you heard that right. He is now former FBI Director because the President of the United States has fired James Comey from his position. And liberal heads seem to be exploding. Either because A, they don't know what to do, because they don't know what to think, or B, anything Donald Trump does is absolutely wrong. There's conspiracy behind it and must be investigated by a special prosecutor. It's unreal, folks. James Comey has been let go, and the stated reasons we went to in the prior segment, his handling of Secretary Clinton's and the investigation into her email server and the transmittal of classified documents and information. We have the stated reason. Now, let's go into the conspiracy theory on the other side of it that Democrats are going to latch on to. The conspiracy theory simply is that President Trump must have gotten rid of James Comey because he didn't want any investigation into his connections with Russia and election interference or Mike Flynn or anything like that to go any further. And this is Nixonian in nature, and an investigation must be done immediately. I can't even say this with a straight face because it sounds so loony at this point. Does anybody remember when Harry Reid was talking about James Comey putting a black mark on the FBI? Yeah, he actually said this during the campaign season, folks. People in politics have such short memories. It boggles the mind to think that you can talk out of both sides of your mouth so blatantly and at the same time think that you're right 100% of the time. It's, you know what? Before we get to Harry Reid, how about just the hypocrisy of Chuck Schumer? Flashback to November 2nd, the headlines were everywhere. Schumer, quote, "I lost confidence in FBI director." It's everywhere. Bloomberg picked it up. The Hill picked it up. Huffington Post picked it up. Today, Chuck Schumer is saying if we don't get a special prosecutor, every American will rightfully suspect that the decision to fire Comey was part of a cover-up. This is the same guy that he was just saying that he had no confidence in, based upon his handling of an investigation into a fellow Democrat. It's just loony, folks. If Democrats wanted James Comey fired, why are they now going nuts that James Comey has been fired? I just don't get it. And like I said, they're lining up their unified opposition to the Trump's nominee as we speak, even though there isn't one yet. But think about this, and this is a point that was brought up by Eric Erickson. Donald Trump firing James Comey means that right now, Trump gets to appoint a new head of the FBI, but in the meantime, the FBI is being led by Andrew McCabe, who is the husband of a Democrat candidate who was supported by Terry McAuliffe and the Democrats. He goes on to say that, claiming Donald Trump firing James Comey to stop an investigation about Russia actually handed the FBI to a man whose wife ran for office as a Democrat and saw her campaign funded by Terry McAuliffe and other friends of Hillary Clinton. There's a hole in conspiracy theory number one. Basically, what the Democrats are saying is that there is a cover-up going on in the Trump administration of monumental proportions, such that if something is found out, and they are indeed proved correct, Donald Trump should be impeached, he should resign from office, and he should no longer be president. It, to me, kind of doesn't hold water, given that every person involved with the investigation into Russia in government has come up with exactly bupkis. Dianne Feinstein was on TV saying, "We have found nothing yet." Comey has said repeatedly, he has found nothing yet. Everyone who's testified before Congress has said they have found no connection. Enough is enough. Schumer is going with cover-up. He's going full loony. I mean, break out the tinfoil fedora, because that's what the classy gentlemen wear when they're throwing out the conspiracy theories. Elizabeth Warren going out and saying Trump doesn't want anyone investigating any ties to Russia. It's been investigated ad nauseum. Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut saying that this is like the Saturday Night Massacre under Nixon. I've heard this said by Bill de Blasio as well, that this is Nixonian in nature. Where was the uproar when Bill Clinton fired Bill Sessions back in 93? Come on. Everything's a conspiracy. Everything's nefarious. Everything is wrong when Donald Trump does it. It's absolutely ridiculous, folks. But let's take it to its the level that it should be. James Comey has not found anything. No other national security agency or investigatory body has found anything. And if there is this connection, how in the world did everyone miss it? And it only took the firing of the inept guy who couldn't find it to prompt the real evidence, quote unquote, to come out. It just doesn't make sense to me. The correct answer is usually the most obvious one. And this is just my theory, folks. This is my hot take. I think Donald Trump has been looking for an excuse to fire James Comey for a very long time. He may not admit it. His advisors may not admit it. But I think they were looking for it, and they seized on an opportunity when word got out earlier this week that James Comey's testimony before Congress was inaccurate, was flat out incorrect, and required correction of some kind. That, to me, leads me to believe that error, compounded by the appointment of Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, who's only been in office about 2 weeks, by the way, I think that all lined up for President Trump to pull the trigger on what he wanted to do. Now, again, this is not Jeff Sessions, who's recused himself from all appearances of impropriety with regards to Russia, saying this. This is the Deputy Attorney General who went deep into this, into the time that he investigated this. And other Attorney Generals and Deputy AGs agree that this is troubling, and they need to wipe away this precedent and restore the Department of Justice to respected stance, and most importantly, a nonpartisan stance. I take them at their word at this point. I don't see any reason not to. Just think about it again. The July press conference, the doubling down before Congress, the announcement in late October about his decision to investigate newly discovered emails or quote-unquote conceal it. Again, the letter says, and I tend to agree with it, conceal is a loaded term that misstates the way that the Department of Justice and the FBI go about investigating. This isn't done in the public view. This isn't Law and Order. This isn't House of Cards. This is the most powerful investigatory body in our government that's supposed to be nonpartisan, even though we all know it isn't. Couple of names being thrown around the internet that I see for the successor, the replacement for James Comey. I put out there myself, I would love to see Trey Gowdy get the job. He has shown, based upon his actions in committee in Congress, in the committees he sits on, that he has the prosecutor genes in him. He is not made for Congress. I'm sorry. He is not a partisan. He may have partisan leanings, but he is not about towing a party line. He's about facts, evidence, and law. I've seen that about him. I admire that about him. I would love to see him be on that short list for the new director. And we need to get somebody there as soon as possible. As Eric Erickson said, you got an Obama appointee right now that's the acting head of the FBI. Who knows what hell he hath wrought in his time when he between appointment and being replaced. It gets very interesting from here, folks. Someone posted, I think it was Benny Johnson, who, to me, one of the best reporters to look at there because he's such a firebrand. Those of you who know him, he is chief of content over at IJR, Independent Journal Review. He was with National Review. There have been stories written about him and use of sources and all this stuff. But his observations are very witty. And if you go to his Facebook and look at this, what he calls the sequence of events in American political history, starting with Bill Clinton having sexual relations with an intern, going through Anthony Weiner's sexcapades and the connections to Hillary and Huma Abedin, going through the investigation into the emails that have connections to Weiner as well, and then ending up with a conclusion that Anthony Weiner is the biggest supervillain in political history. As a resident of the People's Republic of New York, who was once a constituent of Carlos Danger, and who had a front row seat to his demise by working with Congressman Bob Turner and his bid to unseat the heir apparent over there that they wanted to put in, some guy named Weprin. I love that observation so darn much. It's just great. As I peruse the internet to see what people are saying, everyone's surprised about the timing of this. Everyone is shocked. Democrats' heads are exploding. They don't know what to think at this point. Their first reaction was, and now the reaction is to follow in line with what Chuck Schumer has said. There is some rejoicing in conservative circles. It's a one big mess, folks. What do we expect to see from this? Well, I think you're going to see the return of the lock her up chant. I think you're going to see a renewed fervor from conservatives for the new FBI director to go after Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, and Huma Abedin, and other members of her campaign that handled these emails while they were at state. I think we're going to see those chants come up. I bet you Hillary Clinton right now is looking to see if her lawyer needs a new retainer. I think that might be coming around. It's funny the way politics works, folks. It really is. How things keep coming around and coming around. And Donald Trump once again shows that he is not your typical politician. You want to talk about draining the swamp? This is one of the biggest plug holes that you pulled out that start draining to make sure that the FBI is no longer partisan. You know what? This whole thing has got me overwhelmed and flustered, folks. I think it's great. I think chaos in government is really good. There are statements coming out now. CNN, oh great, CNN is chiming in to say